Welcome back to more The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Last time we made it to the Snowhead Temple, so this time we're continuing to explore this area. Through the locked door, we have some more Wolfos to fight, and off-screen, I actually learned of a trick to fighting the Wolfos more easily. Basically, what you want to do is lure them into attacking you, and if they miss, they'll actually spin around, giving you an opportunity to attack them from behind like so. One jump slash to their backs is enough to defeat them in one hit. So with the Wolfos out of the way, let's see what's inside here. You found the compass. Now many of the dungeon's hidden things will appear on the map. Next up, over here, we have a bombable wall along with a crate on top of this pillar. So first of all, we want to carefully time a bomb throw in such a way that we actually break this crate, revealing a stray fairy. You found a stray fairy. This is your fourth one. So now we can turn our attention to this bombable wall. Next up, we have this room with a ton of ice crystals on the path forward. So to break the ice, we have to look up with our bow and shoot down all of these ice crystals on the ceiling, similar to at the entrance to the Snowhead region. There are also several ice crystals containing red rupees. We do want to collect as many rupees as possible. I'd like to have about 80 by the end of this dungeon. So, now that the way is cleared, we also want to equip the Lens of Truth in order to find a secret. As we start climbing up and traversing these little pillars, there's a very suspicious looking wall here that if we use the Lens of Truth, we'll be able to find a hidden alcove with a treasure. You found a stray fairy. This is your fifth one. Next up, I also want to briefly equip bombs again, because we have some snowballs over here. We can punch them with the Goron form, but I think I'll just use a bomb instead, to see what's underneath all of the snow here. You got a small key. Use it to open a locked door. You can use the key only in this dungeon. So, all that's left here is to collect the remaining red rupee and see what's behind this locked door. We have a very interesting room here. Before we move on, we actually have to equip a lot of things here. We need the Lens of Truth, the Great Fairy's Mask, and the bow. If we look up, we'll be able to see a hidden alcove with a stray fairy in a bubble, so let's pop this and find another stray fairy. You found a stray fairy. This is your sixth one. Next up, we have to complete a sequence using the Goron mask and the switches around this room. What, you think you can push down something this big just by standing on top of it? You're going to have to find some way to pound it down. We now have to quickly go over to the green switch on the opposite side of this area. And we have to go back over to the yellow switch. And finally, we have to quickly run over to the exit before it closes up again. Next up, we have a series of ramps that we can traverse using the Goron form. So let's roll over here. There's a bunch of ice we can't deal with yet. So instead, let's carefully go around this little, like, snowy area here. There's a door here. We'll be seeing what's through here in a bit. But for now, we actually want to zoom over to the west side of this chamber. I also do recommend using Z-targeting to try to line up the angle a little bit better so you don't fall by accident, but overall this isn't too scary. I also, before going into this next area, I do want to equip the bunny hood again. And our mini-boss this time is a Wizrobe, so they'll teleport around the room and try to charge up a projectile. What we want to do is, as soon as they start dancing, quickly run over, preferably with the bunny hood, and jump strike to deal the most damage possible at the moment. One more hit should move on to phase 2. Now Wizrobe will create copies to throw us off his trail, so the fight is generally the same, but again, we have to keep an eye on which one's the real one, while still dodging all of the projectiles and everything. Basically, the one that isn't moving is the real one, which makes it pretty easy to find the real one, but it can be a little bit stressful, because you essentially do have a time limit. You got the fire arrow. Set it to C to power up your arrows. Things will heat up when they hit. So we can go over here and equip fire arrows at any time. They do use magic though, so be aware of that. Frankly, a lot of things use magic in this dungeon, ranging from the Goron rolling to the Lens of Truth. So yeah, it would actually be really nice to have had more magic for this. More on that later. But we might as well check what's in here first of all. We actually were running low on arrows, so that's not too bad. We also need the Goron form for something. Next up, I think I want to drop down to the beginning of this area, and the fastest way to get there is to roll off this ledge and hopefully land safely. Like so. While we're down here at the very bottom level, we do have a switch over here in the lava. Luckily, as a Goron, we can go through lava. Again, to reiterate that. And we wouldn't be able to weigh down the switch anyway in our human form, so yeah, it works out. And that reveals another treasure chest. You found a stray fairy. This is your 7th one. So back here, we want to melt the ice encasing the green door. By the way, something I actually realized during this playthrough was that stray fairies actually refill your life, which is very helpful in a 3-heart run. So in this cavern, we have a bunch of ice enemies known as freezers that we want to quickly melt with ice, or melt with fire arrows, like so. There was a bit of a cooldown for fire arrows, interestingly, so you can't, like, spam fire arrows. That reveals a treasure chest. Really quickly, I do want to go over here to pick up the arrows that were dropped, and also, hopefully, refill our magic a bit. You found a stray fairy. This is your 8th one. Next up, we want to go over to this area by the door and quickly try to light all 3 torches with fire arrows, like so. Through the locked door, we have another switch we can pound down using the Goron form. So that caused a giant pillar to rise up, and that'll be our way forward in a bit. Again, let's restock on magic, and make our way back over to the main part of the dungeon. Honestly, the Snowhead Temple is surprisingly elaborate for a second dungeon. It does make sense in context for Majora's Mask to have a very fast difficulty curve, but sometimes it does stand out as, like, yeah, really fast, all things considered. This isn't, like, overly difficult, but definitely feels like the difficulty is ramping up faster than most, like, 3D Zelda games. So we have another Wolfos over here, and before you move on, I think this would be a good time to go looking for some more stray fairies, so let's go through here, back into the previous area with a bunch of Wolfos. Let's fight the Wolfos again to get them out of the way, and then we'll proceed to collect more stray fairies. So there's one more behind the ice switch. We also have to melt this anyway, so again, it'll be a little bit safer getting the enemies out of the way. Now that we have fire arrows, we can also melt this block that's encased in ice. And we have a classic Zelda block-pushing puzzle. Luckily, this one isn't overly difficult. I remember Twilight Princess in particular having a very brutal, like, block-pushing ice puzzle. So yeah, comparatively speaking, this isn't too bad. So yeah, just 3 simple pushes, and it's already in position, so we can hop up to this next treasure. You found a stray fairy. This is your 9th one. And next up, we basically want to push the block back to where it was, so we can actually make our way up to this other door. So yeah, just kind of moving it back where it was, but to this point, where we can easily climb up and hop over here. I actually wonder if the bomb throw, I'm actually going to try it, because I'm actually curious, because I normally don't wait this long, but I do wonder if it's actually easier to blow up the crate from this ledge or not, like if we can actually throw it all the way. You still can't, so I guess it's fine either way. I was just really wondering. But through here, we have the double block stack from before in the key room, so now we can carefully jump across, but be aware that the pots will actually attack you. So yeah, make sure to shield or dodge those. You found a stray fairy. This is your 10th one. Alright, so we should be good to go for stray fairies for now. Those should be the only ones we have to backtrack for at the moment. So let's make our way back over to the entrance of the dungeon, and then go through the opposite door, back to the room with the multiple stray fairies and the other freezards. Also stock up on life. Again, I have to definitely make sure to pick up hearts whenever I can in a 3-heart run. Yeah, normally I wouldn't be this meticulous, but it's good to be on the safe side here. Alright, so now that we have fire arrows, we can start melting all of the enemies and obstacles in this room. So let's start with the enemies first of all. So now we have to carefully roll over to the other side. Actually, it's a lot less dangerous without the enemies. Also, the crate on the other side is basically to keep you from rolling off the ledge, which is very nice. You'll just crash into it and stop, which is very helpful. You got a small key. Use it to open a locked door. You can use the key only in this dungeon. So next up, we want to go back upstairs through this entrance. By the way, I actually discovered that this enemy is actually called a real bomb shoe. Bomb shoes are traditionally an item in the series, but I guess in universe this is what like bomb shoes as an item are like supposed to be based on, I suppose. But now that we have fire arrows, we can also hit this switch that's encased in ice. First, we have to defeat the enemy though. That raises up the pillar, allowing us to easily access this floor. We passed by the door over there from the other side, but yeah, there's no real point in going through that door at this point, because of not really being much in this room that we can do without fire arrows. But one thing that we also want to do is carefully platform up here using these like invisible steps that we can see with the Lens of Truth to find another treasure. You found a stray fairy. This is your 11th one. So let's make our way through here again. And now we're at a part of the pillar that looks different than the rest of it, and we can actually punch this part. We do need to lower the pillar a bit, so you can put this off for later, and it actually makes some things a little bit easier, having the pillar at full height later on, but you can't like soft lock the game by breaking the pillar now. Next up, let's melt this. And that takes us to another part of the pillar. I think next we have to roll down to this lower part of the area. So let's carefully head down here and break the next section of the pillar. So with that out of the way, let's see what's through this locked door. we have a room with a ton of ice enemies, or snow enemies technically. We want to be a little bit careful, but now that we have fire arrows, we can easily defeat them with one shot, like so, and then also melt this ice on the other side. Before we head upstairs, one, I need to check here for some magic, and two, we actually want to unequip the fire arrows, and then also equip the Great Fairy's mask, and then look up, because we have another stray fairy in an alcove, but I don't think we can use fire arrows at the same time as the Lens of Truth, because both use magic, so we do have to use regular arrows. You found a stray fairy. This is your 12th one. Next up, we have the small chamber with some Dynalphos that we can easily defeat with the Goron form. We basically want to use the Goron Pound to hopefully defeat both really quickly, like so, assuming they don't keep dodging. We got one, and there's two. You found a stray fairy. This is your 13th one. You found a stray fairy. This is your 14th one. And now we're almost to the top of the dungeon, but there's still actually a lot more to go. We want to drop down here. I should have definitely held forward to roll, but I took damage. And next up, I think I want to go through here. We can punch all of these. This can actually be a little bit unwieldy because sometimes you will punch the bars on the side instead of punching the snowballs. Now we have to roll on over to the other side, over to this Deku flower. So let's also equip the Deku mask, interestingly. And let's fly over to this door over here. We have a rematch with Wizrobe. Two things worth mentioning. There's actually a teleporter on an upper ledge, so you might not be able to fight Wizrobe directly. Secondly, fire arrows are very effective, so I recommend using them. They definitely speed up the fight considerably, because each cycle only takes 2 fire arrows. So that took care of phase 1, so all that's left is one more fire arrow to finish off this fight, if we can locate him fast enough. His attacks do freeze you potentially, which is very dangerous, so I do recommend not getting hit if possible and trying to dodge, like so, but overall this isn't too bad still. So that opens up the way forward. First of all, let's, again, stock up on items really quickly, and then continue on through this unlocked door to see what awaits us through here. You got the boss key. Now you can enter the chamber where the boss lurks. Alright, so we are almost good to go, but there is still one more thing we need to find. We want to drop back down to this to the top of the pillar, and then we have a very annoying jump to have to make. So, if you go over to one of these like corners, you'll see Tattle is targeting something over there. Like with the one stray fairy in the ice crystal room, if we use the lens of truth, we'll be able to see there's actually an invisible path. What I tend to do is I basically roll at the very end, and that gives me barely enough like distance to actually cross this gap safely, like so. You found all the stray fairies! Quick, take them to their fellow fairies of the same color. So with that out of the way, we want to carefully fly over as a Deku over to this ledge with the stairs up. We also need to break all of the snowballs again as the Deku form, or the Gohan form. It's also nice that these do give you items like rupees, arrows, magic, etc. To kind of refill on resources a little bit. So all that's left is to roll on over to the boss door. So it turns out our next boss is frozen over there. So we'll be finishing up the Snowhead Temple next time. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask.